Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're listening with our friends over at Torah Anytime, or wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, as always, it is a thrill to have you along with us. And we're going to start with a sponsorship. This episode is sponsored by Eli in honor of his wife Shira on the occasion of their anniversary. What a wonderful anniversary gift. And I'm really, every husband should really look into their soul and ask why you're not doing this for your wife. Because that's really, I look at Eli and Shira and I say, that's the standard that every Jewish couple should shoot for. Shira is a very dedicated Rabbi Orlofsky Show listener and is delighted that you're not dead. Shira, me too. I remember when I had my heart attack, a couple of doctors told me I wasn't going to make it, and afterwards I would meet people and they say, I davened for you. I said, well, it worked. So Baruch Hashem, I'm still here and you guys are still here and we should spend many, many years together. Just a reminder, we mentioned before about the join the WhatsApp Rabbi Orlofsky Show group. There are some people who do not have access to all of these various platforms, but they do have WhatsApp for reasons I can't possibly understand. But if you are interested in signing up for the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp number is 972-557-116220, and then you will receive a audio recording of the podcast. You will not be able to have any of the visuals, or things that go along with that, but at least the audio you will have. Okay. And now I share with you something I heard in the 1980s by a musician who was very popular back then called Huey Lewis. He had a group called Huey Lewis and the News. And he suddenly became this tremendous hit. And he said, it's interesting, it took me 20 years to become an overnight hit. That's what he said. And I thought that was really too clever for Huey Lewis. I looked it up. Of course, I Googled it. It was actually Eddie Cantor who said that first. It takes 20 years to become an overnight hit. But that's the quote I wanted to begin with because we haven't had the schus of having a guest on the Rabbi Orlofsky Show in a while. And we are joined today by the famous Rav Gav, who has been in the field of Jewish Aish HaTorah for a long time.
It takes 20 years to make it.
And all of a sudden he's exploded on the scene. You can find him every place. All the podcasts have him, the important ones. I mean, he's on mine, so he's really made it, But, I know Rav Gav has been on Meaningful People. They asked me, and I said, I'm waiting till they come out with a podcast called Meaningless People, because I'm really not that chashuv. But Rav Gav has been all around, and now he's speaking all over the place, and it's unbelievable. I remember it was years ago that I spoke in Aish, and you said, please mention me. And but now you're so far beyond that, I have to say to you, next time you speak, maybe throw in a good word for me.
Can we be clear on what happened then? Do you remember what happened when I said, please mention me?
What happened?
I said, Rabbi, just mention me in your shir.
This is the Hanukkah shir in Aish HaTorah.
Oh, you remember exactly what happened. So go ahead,
no, I don't remember the whole thing.
I don't remember either, but I was like, mention me. And you said, you basically threw me under the bus. And then you go, you happy now? You look at me, you happy? I mentioned you.
No, to be fair, I mentioned you about half a dozen times. I kept saying, Rav Gav, of course, who's going to a Pesach hotel. No one invited me. He's going with his family, very excited, And every now and then I would say, I just, before I forget, Rav Gav asked me to mention him, so.
Oh, gosh, here we go. Yeah. I think you mentioned
That's pretty good. Listen,
honor.
Rabbi Samson from Try to Inspire. So when I used to work with him on certain things, he was still single. He didn't get married till he was a little older, So wherever I would go, I would say, I just want to acknowledge Rabbi Samson is here, and could some girl please do us a favor and just marry him already? Just take him off the market because it's so pathetic. And he smiled politely, as English people tend to do. But anyway, so I'm sure everybody knows what's going on. But of course, the Rabbi Orlofsky audience only watches me and has no idea what's going on anyplace else in the world. So, Rav Gav, who are you and where'd you come from? What's your story? What's the Rav Gav story?
Such a loaded question.
You know? I mean, especially because you got that cool nickname, Rav Gav. I don't have that. I have Rabbi Orlofsky.
Yeah, most people don't know that. Oh, some people.
By the way, his last name is Friedman.
Hey,
people don't even know that. I'm not supposed to say that.
Undercover.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's my Clark Kent.
Every now and then people meet me. They go, Orlofsky, are you related to the famous Rabbi Orlofsky? I said, no, it's a very common name.
When I call up and I say my name is Gabriel Friedman, no one has any idea. They really don't know. I used to say Gav, and everyone thinks I'm saying God. So I just think,
do you remember Yehuda? Exclamation mark.
Yeah, sure. Rollerblades and all.
Yeah, Yehuda chick, right? Yeah. He was actually in my shir in Dovid at one point. Anyway, so someone says to me, my mom met him on a plane. He says, who are you? He goes, I'm Yehuda. Goes, Yehuda who? Like, Yehuda exclamation mark. Yehuda, it's like, do I know you?
I remember.
So Rav Gav is like,
Yeah. Well, originally it wasn't Rav Gav. It wasn't that. It was, my name was first, my full Hebrew name is Elisha Gabriel.
Oh my gosh. When did you go with the Elisha?
We did.
And?
I was Elisha until I was 6 years old.
And then?
And then I got into a bus when I was 6 years old. I had a bus driver. I'm not going to go into backgrounds of ethnicities and whatever, but the bus driver says to me, boy, what's your name?
Yeah.
Whatever that would mean. And I said, my name's Elisha. He said, Elisha? That's a girl's name. And that was the end of that. I'm like,
you know what? Because it's like A-L-I.
Yeah, whatever, in the non-Jewish world.
Right.
Then my parents said, no, it's a Navi. I'm like, what's a Navi? I don't even care. I'm going off the derech. And that was before there wasn't such a thing to go off. I was only 6.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm changing my name. It's something, I'm going to go by whatever. And then it became Gabriel, and then it became Gav. Which is my
I understand. Gabriel was an easier name for people to present?
Well, it's not easier because there's no women that are named Gabriel, as far as I know, in the non-Jewish world. So it was not an issue.
The angel Gabriel.
The angel Gabriel. So it became Gav. And then my grandfather called me Rav Gav when I was very little.
Before you were a rabbi.
Before I was involved in this world that we are in today. And then really I give credit to it's hard to know who, but one of my students' name is Ricky Vigon, one of my students from Aish in 2006, 2007. And he said to me, someone asked, what's your name? And he said, Rav Gav. He said, Rav Gav. So he goes, okay, Rav Gav. And they wrote it down like I'm teaching. And then the next class is like, what's your name? He's like, oh, that's Rav Gav. And I didn't do that. I was just like, I'm like, my name's Elisha. Anyway, from the 5 towns, from the Heilige of 5 towns.
Which are the 5 towns?
Sodom. And
that doesn't narrow it down.
From the Heilige Big W, from Woodmere. Not North Woodmere.
Woodmere.
The Alta Country, Woodmere, New York. From the Heilige Woodmere.
Young Israel Woodmere?
Down the block. Based Tefillah.
Mm.
Based Tefillah.
When I was running NCSY, Long Island, that was the only game in town. Was
Rabbi Billet, yeah.
No, Rabbi Libor.
Before Rabbi Billet?
Before Rabbi Billet. I remember when they hired Rabbi Billet.
I don't believe it.
Listen, I became regional director in 1979.
So maybe, I know Rabbi Billet was there when I was there. That's all I know.
So, when then Rabbi Billet came in, they brought him in. He was like the young, happening rabbi, what I mean? So,
Now they're like 12 or him there. So, but anyway, that's it. Woodmere. Came to Eretz Yisrael.
Where did you go to school?
To Or Yerushalayim, OJ.
No, before that. High school.
Oh, Helm.
You're Helm?
Helm, yeah.
Helm had a high school?
Well, first elementary school. And then I went to DRS, which is the high school of Helm.
Where they make doctors. That's the Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, Bonagate, yeah. So I was the first year of DRS.
Really?
Yeah. Not the first graduating class, but the first year. It was the first 3 years, let's say. And then
you went to OJ.
I went to early admissions, OJ, where they asked me to leave.
That's right.
And Or Yerushalayim 2 years, and I had a short stint in Lander College for Men. I was there in the Beis Hamikdash by Shmulevitz, Yehuda Shmulevitz. And then came back to Eretz Yisrael. I was in Torah Moshe for 3 years. And then I started teaching in Aish HaTorah.
Now, were you always on this path to be a Marbitz Torah? Or at what point did you decide,
unclear.
I'm unqualified to do anything else?
That's what they tied it, but at least I don't teach gym.
That's what I do.
At least I don't teach gym.
I, I said, like, I don't know what else it is really that I could do at this point, so.
No, I mean, we'll see at this point. Maybe I'll go into real estate. But anyway, that's as the people shelve themselves. But it wasn't a concentrated effort and thought, which is.
You just ended up in it.
Yeah, it was totally not a plan at all. When I was 16, the goal was to make a lot of money. And then I had a shift in NCSY Kollel. They brainwashed me like crazy. That was amazing. NCSY Kollel, familiar?
Yeah.
NCSY Kollel, amazing. And then it shifted my mindset that I want to grow in terms of Torah. And then it was just, I just don't want to go to school anymore. So it's just to figure out how to make it.
I went to the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, and in 8th grade, I had a Rabbi Well, who basically, convinced me to come from. That was before my bar mitzvah. I was a January baby, the beginning of 8th grade. So my bar mitzvah, I was basically from already. And being by nature an extremist personality, I said, well, if I want to become from, I'm going to become a rabbi.
All the way.
Now, I don't know what that meant,
Right.
because I was an 8th grade kid, living in North America, Long Island.
Yeah.
But I was more or less going to go and become a rabbi, And then Rabbi Gottesman, who was the touring director in Sdei Chemed.
But he was a principal there.
At the time, he was the assistant principal. He was also the tour director in Sdei Chemed. This is back during Eli Teitelbaum's days, So he convinced my parents to send me to Sdei Chemed. Now, this was a culture shock. I mean, my Rebbe was a Satmar Chassid who Yiddish was his first language, He used to wake us up in the morning. Arais, Yidden, arais. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in a camp. They're coming to take me. Anyway, line up outside. Anyway, so it was pretty scary. But my learning director, the learning director of the camp that year was Shaya Cohen, and my learning rabbi was Saul Fromowitz from Chavetz Chaim. And they basically told us that if you don't go to Chavetz Chaim, then you're not going to go to the next world. So you should go to Chavetz Chaim, stay there for 15 years and become a Rosh Yeshiva. So I was like, okay, I'll become a Rosh Yeshiva.
Did you do it?
No, I wasn't really cut out for that, And so then when I was in LA, I stumbled into NCSY. That's how I ended up going off to NCSY. And I found myself in this field that I never would have anticipated, right. But I just had a skill for informal education because I wasn't that good at regular education, right. But I was a master at informal education. So that's how I
did feel as a kid in school that even if I didn't know the material that was being taught, even if I didn't know what the teacher was saying, like I didn't know math, I didn't know science, I didn't know American history or whatever it was, social studies, whatever they called it. But I did know one thing. I knew I could teach better than he's teaching. Yeah. Like I always felt I had a knack to be able to give over information.
But did you want to go into teaching or into kiruv?
No. I never heard of kiruv. I didn't.
You never heard of kiruv?
No, it was a mistake. This whole thing was a mistake.
Positive mistake. But first you started teaching in Aish HaTorah.
Right, but that was a mistake. I didn't mean to teach there.
How did that happen?
I didn't know what was.
You were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I was only Torah Moshe.
Maybe your sister picked you up at the wall.
Yeah, he's like, "What time is it?" I was like, "What do you think? I'm a friar with the watch?" I didn't know what Aish HaTorah was. Even though I say Aish HaTorah now is a big name, people know Aish HaTorah. But I don't think it was recently as 2005, 2004. They weren't recent. Maybe it's not so recent. They were for some people. They're 18 now. But it wasn't a 19. But it wasn't a household name in the Frum world. You had a couple things here and there, whatever, in the Lakewood series of Noach. You have to be in Lakewood or not religious to know Aish HaTorah. Yes. Anyone who's in the modern Orthodox world, Aish HaTorah wasn't part of that world. Yeah. At least I never heard of it. Never heard of it.
It was very interesting. I taught in Aish HaTorah, and I also taught Sameach. I taught in both places. And I was magdir the difference between the two institutions. And when I said it over to Aish, they said, we would say that, but Or Sameach would never agree. Oh, it's here. When I said it to Or Sameach, they said, we'd agree, but Aish HaTorah would never say it. I got it right. Yeah. Or Sameach's a yeshiva. And it's as a mahus of a yeshiva. And it's basically, encouraging people to come in and sit and learn Gemara long term. And that's the goal. It's a yeshiva. It's just for people with a little background. Yeah. Aish HaTorah is a kiruv movement. As much as it needs a yeshiva to train the people for the kiruv movement, they have a yeshiva, but they're not a yeshiva. And each place said to me, exactly. Yeah. And that's why Or Sameach, with a twisted sense of humor, decided to name the yeshiva a name that no Baal Tshuva can possibly pronounce, or Sameach, you know what I mean? And then they made an advanced kollel called Meshech Chachma, which is, again, just having fun with Baal Tshuva. Anyway,
love that place.
Now the real reason he told me he did it is because he wanted to give that the Sameach didn't have any sons, and he wanted to give him a kiyum, etc. But Aish HaTorah changed its name to Aish. You know why?
I'm nervous.
Because HaTorah was coming out saying too hard, Aish HaTorah.
Aish HaTorah?
A Torah. So it sounded too like Chubi, so they changed it just to Aish. Aish. And also, they wanted it clear that this was a Kiruv movement. This was, and therefore, in Aish HaTorah, at least when I was there, if you ended up going and staying and learning for the next 10 years, you were a failure. Because you're supposed to go out and say Klal Yisrael. Rav Noach said this to me many times. And and if you were in Or Sameach and you ended up in the Mir for the next 10 years, you were a tremendous success.
Right. But you're saying if you're a Sameach and you end up being a Makar, you're a failure.
If you leave after a year and go out and do Kiruv, so why aren't you sitting and learning? Right. It's very interesting.
Right. So the kids are.
So you mamish went to the Kiruv Center. It wasn't a yeshiva for Bali Tshuva. You went to the Kiruv movement.
I'll tell you the funny thing, which I don't know why. Every time I say this, I don't know why I don't just do it. But when I started, I was learning the Kollel in Torah Moshe in Tomo, and
which is.
Well, the guys weren't the guys are geschmack, but the place is a little bit intense. Yeah. Cult. And yeah. I don't say. You said cult. Is that what you said?
Cult.
You said cult, right?
I love Rabbi Meiselman, and I love a lot of the staff
shifted.
Guys
It shifted
I know,
over the years. It shifted. Now they have much shkichah over there. Yeah. No, it's very.
It's very briska.
Yeah. It's very.
It's
great for it. Really is wonderful.
It was Parshas Vayikra. So what do briskas do? Kachim. So I remember I saw Rabbi Meiselman. It was Parshas Vayikra. So I said, "What's there of malika? Like why, when it comes to a bird, do you shecht in the back of the neck?" I don't know. I said, "What's the share of kamitza by a mincha that you take 3 fingers?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Why is there 5 variations of a mincha?" I go to the base of I want to bring a mincha. They say, "Well, you want a mincha b'machvas, a mincha b'marcheshet." He goes, "I don't know." I said, "You do. You're briskers. This is what you guys do." He goes, "I'll tell you how. I'll tell you where. I'll tell you when. I'll tell you how much. I never talk about why." Briskers don't talk about why,
Yeah, so it was very good. But I had no idea about the Kiruv shtiklach.
Yeah.
I was just looking for a job. I just needed money.
So how did you stumble into Aish HaTorah?
A cousin that was working there suggested, because I did have a thought process once I was already learning, that I was like, maybe I'll go teach and maybe I'll give back. And I wanted to teach 10th grade modern Orthodox kids.
Were you married at this time?
Yeah, I was married, yeah. 10th grade I see is 15, 16 is when kids are starting to break out. If I can grab you at 15, 16, then maybe I could help you make less mistakes. You'll mess up, but at least you'll have some sort of something. That was the goal. Baruch Hashem, I think Hashem every day. It never worked out. I'm sorry for all those 15-year-olds listening, but let's just keep it at that. And
wait, you were planning on staying here?
Well, I was planning. No. My plan was to learn in Eretz Yisrael for a couple of years after I got married, and then I was going to go back and I was going to figure it out.
How long ago was that?
So this is 2000. I got married in 2003. So this is 2005. I was gonna.
About 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago. I was. I was gonna.
This August, I've been here 35 years.
Right. So this.
I came here for 3 years.
So this August, I've been here 23 years.
I was supposed to go back 32 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the packing is a real pain.
Right. Well. You got a bunch of kids. It's a little hard, yeah. So by Arichas, the goal is to stay here learning 2 years. My parents and in-laws were kind enough to say, they're like, okay, we'll help you out for 2 years, which meant something very different then, just everyone should know the prices were very different. And
but your parents are modern Orthodox.
Yeah, I mean the kids messed them up, right? So now they took them in a back alley, and once you go,
when my parents
go back,
were still not Shomer Shabbos, they went to a Pesach program where I was. I went to a Pesach program where they were, but nobody made the association between them and me, So I was giving a share. My mom comes, of course, And afterwards, the person says to my mother, goes, "He's very good." She goes, "Oh, yes." Because I hear his parents aren't from. My mother goes, "No, really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, Who would have
This
guessed?
is like the Pope is coming. This is like the discussion. Wow.
I mean, so you had modern parents, and now suddenly you're doing the, yeshivish learning in your thing.
Yeah, yes and no.
Asking for support.
They were modern, right? But no, they wouldn't have supported it. My brother called me up after. He's like, "How did you do
Right.
that?"
I mean, that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's
Whatever.
not the Woodmere.
No,
No,
it was not, and it was there was trickum and shtickum to make it work, but it worked out. Baruch Hashem. But after 2 years, it like zag a bench, like whatever. Good luck. So then I discovered something called the art of pilot trips. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know this thing existed. I put a resume. I'm looking to whatever, and somebody calls up. Are you interested in? We'll check it out. I was like, okay, but how do I get you? They're like, what do you mean? Like, we'll fly you and your wife out. You'll come out for like a couple of days, and we'll take care of it. Whatever it is, check it out. I was like, okay. Like, I didn't know what was happening. I went. I was like, said to my wife, I am never getting a job. We're gonna pilot trip the world, and we did. We went,
I had a friend of mine once. We had this idea. He said, these seminaries charge you $100 for a registration fee.
Just to open up and close it.
We were just going to open up, try to get like 1,000 girls to apply, and then close.
Yeah, due to unfortunate circumstances, we weren't able to.
We didn't
your
find
kid wasn't accepted.
We didn't find anybody that we could possibly get who was on our level. Yeah. So he said, "So what are we going to call it?" I said, "Benos Betza."
That's good.
Anyway,
Kitzer, we went around to a couple different places, Lishma, and I don't know. What is there like? Do we censor this? No, we don't censor anything. Right? I could say it.
I always. You have to worry. You may have to worry about your reputation.
Yeah.
But me,
you're done
I don't
with
have
it,
a problem. Right.
So
anyone who wants to take me down, there's enough stuff out there already.
It's not for repetition. I'll say the one thing.
Remember what my brother used to say: "You better kill me with the first bullet because you ain't getting a second shot." Yeah. But I've been killed on the internet 3 times.
Nice, they like you.
Like killed.
They like you, yeah.
And I was like, I found out that when you die on the internet, it's like in a game. You're not really dead.
Wasted. Like, you come back.
You come back. Right?
Yeah, with the full power. You don't even know. You don't even know. Your video game was Atari.
If they want to kill me, they're going to have to do it for real.
Yeah, but Kitzer, this was when I was looking for different places to work. It was Siyata Shmai Baruch Hashem. I got offered jobs in every place that I went, except for one, which I don't know if I should say, so I won't, which means I will in a moment. But you know who you are. And I wanted, and I was ready, and I was gonna, and I was so young and idealistic. I was like ready to change the world. And I wanted it, and I had information already before. I knew what they were gonna ask me. Mm-hmm. I knew the interview. I knew the questions. I knew the answers. I knew what they wanted.
Right.
And I played it off. I came in. They're like, "What would you do in this scenario?" I was like, "It's a tough one." I was like, I totally said exactly what they wanted to hear, and they didn't hire me. And I was like, "What?" Like the one place that I was interested in didn't work out. Okay, it's a long story. Siyata D'Shmaya, my cousin told me about Aish. I ended up checking it out, and they hired me for the summer. The kids are fast forward, and we'll go back. Fast forward, I'm in Aish. This place where I wanted to work shows up with a group. And I teach the group. And when I finished the group, they come over and said, "Are you looking for a job?"
Yeah.
So I said, "Maybe you don't remember me, but let me introduce myself."
Yeah.
I said, "I very much wanted a job, but you didn't hire me." And now it's not really shaykh, but maybe in the future, who knows, whatever it is. It never went forward, but it was just so funny that I think obviously everything's Siyata D'Shmaya, everything's, there's a plan.
I never looked for a job in my life. Every job I had, I was either offered or pressured into taking. Because Baruch Hu knows that I'm a Atzlan, and he arranged for me to do things.
Should live.
So after I had left Or Sameach, I was just waiting for the next offer to come along, and that was about 10 years ago. And it hasn't come yet. And it's Baruch Hashem, you're young and happening. You're at the height, but when you reach a certain point, you realize that the world is basically done with you. It's sobering. Anyway,
we get the music on this,
cue
the violins.
About it. I'm just waiting to die.
Yeah.
But the
not miserable at all.
But the amazing thing was, at some point, somebody sends me a message who was on a tour that I was with, and he says, "Listen, our shul is looking for a rabbi. I think you'd be a perfect fit for the neighborhood and for the shul." And I said, "Okay, listen, I'll tell you what I am and I'll tell you what I'm not. I am not a world-class paisik. I can answer basic shilas, and otherwise this is who I go to ask my shilas to. But if you're looking for someone to teach and to work with families and build a community, I can do that probably better than most.
Right.
They said, that's exactly what we're looking for.
No halacha.
Send us just like, listen, if you're looking for me to, Mati Mamzerim,
you got the right guy.
Depends how much they're worth. But anyway,
you're going to, no problem.
So I wrote up the first resume in my life that I ever wrote, and I sent it off, and it was during COVID, so we had a video, interview, and I thought it went great. I mean, I'm a pretty good judge of these things. I thought it went great. I was just waiting for the offer to decide how to handle it, And then I get a form email, dear applicant, thank you so much for your interest.
Right,
like
good relationship.
Like momish as
applicant number 44283.
Could possibly be like, not even like, Rabbi Orlofsky, we appreciate you applying. It says, dear sir, to whom it may concern, jump in the lake,
Beloved.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's never happened to me. I never applied for a job, and I was never turned down because I never applied, so it was kind of strange. So here you are with these people who broke your heart. If you look back, would it have been better if you took that job?
No. Aish HaTorah was
made for you.
Oh, it was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, listen, Aish HaTorah could be amazing, and yet that other place might have been your calling.
I didn't name it, so I'll just say that it probably would not have been a good idea. Let's just put it that way. Probably wouldn't have been a good idea. I think I would have been able to be a mashpia in a lot of people. I think so. But it would not have been a good idea. So I ended up, basically, Aish didn't hire me like full time. Their line was, you got to be in the field for 10 years, before you can even touch East Jerusalem. They offered me other places. You want to go like in Madison, Wisconsin? I was like, why would I go there?
Why would anyone go to Madison?
No, so I had no idea what was going on.
Do you know how cold Wisconsin is?
Cold?
Cold.
It's a good thing. I mean, my wife's from Canada, so she's used to that. But like,
we're in Canada,
Montreal. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Forget about it.
Yeah. Whatever. That's when the tourist says
when they say when hell freezes over, it already did in Montreal.
They say that the Torah's all psak. Like, why is it we don't do sukkah? Why is sukkahs in that time of year? Right? Why don't we do it by Pesach time? Right. Because if it's by Pesach time, it's the Aviv. It's a nice weather.
That's right.
Okay. I was in Montreal, Pesach time.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding when I tell you, 10 feet of snow, because the plow was lifting them up. They had the walls of snow, Pesach time. And I was like, the tour, with all due respect, and we're doing sukkahs right now. Like, this is like, it's crazy.
I know somebody who was in Miami, and he said they have air conditioning in their sukkah. Otherwise, you don't get the mitzvah, because mitzvah is pata, and it is so hot and humid. Sukkah's time.
You can't survive.
I was in Miami once in September. I walked for Erev Shabbos. I took my showers, all dressed. I walked from the door to the road to get my car. I soaked.
Yeah.
It's like you wait for a hurricane to just cool everything off.
Yeah. So it was like, but no, it was the best. They were offering me these things. I didn't know what they were offering. I didn't understand. I didn't know what each other was. So I came in like asking for a job, like 10th grade. Jamie Cowland, who was doing placement at the time, he's like, "What?" He's like, "This is Aish HaTorah, man."
You were there when Rav Noach was still there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Rav Noach passed away in 2009, and I started in 2006. So for the first 2 years, the last year he was pretty much, it was out, and it was very weak. And for the first 2 years he was traveling half the year, But he used to give like the shmuz and Thursday shmuz, and I had a couple fights with him. I went in to speak with him a few times. 5 levels. I spoke to you about it once on the parade. We're not going to get to it. But the point is, Tosofrim, Vita, I got it.
I told you my fight with 5 levels?
With Tosofrim.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't say anything. This never happened. I'd like to return.
No, I won't tell it. I'll tell it my story.
Vita.
One of the classes they gave me was the 5 levels of pleasure. And
4 levels of pleasure.
I sat through 3 people giving it, and I listened to the recordings, and I read the outline, and I said, no one can explain second level pleasure. If you want to understand what it means is that 5th level pleasure, the lowest, is physical pleasure. The next level up is called love.
Emotional.
The 3rd level up is called meaning. The 4th level up is power, and the 5th level up is Avas Hashem. So, sometimes these things get accused of being like pop psychology. I said, okay, what's the makor for this? They said the Sefer Chinuch on Avas Hashem. So I look it up, and Mitzvah Avas Hashem, and it says, the way you get Avas Hashem is by knowing it's greater than Mammon, Banim, and Kavod. I said, great. That 5th level pleasure is money, and then comes banim, which is love, and then comes kavod, which is meaning. There's no power. Now I understand why nobody can explain it. I got 3 different versions of Sefer Chana. It wasn't there. I finally took out the English one, and they said there's a girsa that says memshala, and it's a Torah Sefer. I said, then it's only 4 levels of pleasure. That's why no one can explain the other one.
Aish HaTorah, I did not say this. But anyway.
I said it, and I went back to them.
I'm not saying that. City, I had an argument.
And I wasn't given that class
anymore. This is before we spoke. Oh, I'm shocked. This is before we spoke. We met in Paran once, and we had a little argument about this. I went to Noach, and I had it out with him in level 2 because I didn't understand what I had a big problem with what's going on. And I also in yeshiva I looked it up, and I'm like, am I missing something? Like, what's going on here? There was one argument we had, and
what happened?
He fought through with what he wanted the point he wanted to make. It was already, listen, I was so young. I was a whippersnapper, and he was a little bit older, a couple of years older than me. So I didn't push too much. Another time I had an argument with him about kas. Like, what does kas mean? And who did he get angry at me? So I mean, you knew him, no. So like,
what am I doing?
No, Noach's a feisty. He fights for what he believes in. So it was whatever. But kids, I didn't know what was going on. Jamie placed me all over the world, and then it was like it was a theoretical.
You didn't go anywhere.
No, we did. We went to whatever. We didn't end up going anywhere. We went on a pilot trip, but we didn't. We didn't end up going anywhere. Although we possibly would have, if you know who you are watching, we possibly would have. If you look at your last email, we just whatever. I'm just saying.
This is your chance to settle some scores.
No, I don't. No negativity. There's someone who I love dearly. I really love him dearly. But
you know who you are. We're going to get you.
You know the best part about this is like if any HP watches, they're going to send all around Aish, and they're going to be like, okay, who's the guy? And I'm fine. I'm not saying who you are, but you are lovely, and I love you, and I really do.
My brother has 4 sons, and at his 4th son, he made a big bar mitzvah in a hotel, and with a lot of people. And he said, "You're all here because my wife invited you. If it was me, I would have invited 4 of you to my house for a barbecue." The rest of the Shabbos, people were like, "Do you think I was one?"
Yeah, it was one of them. Which one?
One of them.
Yeah. So
every H brand right now is going. Who had Rav Gav?
So there's one. So somebody wanted me to come, and we had a lot of discussions, and I kept asking like, what is it? Not because I would ask, but my wife is a very detail oriented and scheduled and all that kind of stuff, and I'm very not that type of thing. So I would have been like, all right, let's try, but my wife is like, what are we getting into here?
My wife comes to me every now and then and says, aren't you supposed to be teaching somewhere now?
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I'm terrible. Yeah. I can't keep my schedule.
Yeah, okay. We could talk the rest of the show about that.
Yeah, that's why last time I went to America, they were going to fly me in. I said, you have to pay for my wife too. She goes, really? I said, I don't know where I am. You expect me to show up, you need my wife to make sure that I get there, know?
Yeah, if there's one person who knows that, yes.
By the way, I put on my cufflinks for you. I hope you appreciate that. I never wear cufflinks.
Yeah, I put on my my tie for you.
You know how chashuv I consider you.
I put some stays in. Put my pays back. B'kitzer,
where'd the pays come up? What's with the pays?
One second, I'll tell you what the pays is.
You didn't get that in hell.
What do you mean? It's a very, very Haredi institution. I was going to finish this story. I got, because I don't know if you noticed, but I guarantee you people out there are like, can they finish the story?
No.
We've been through 12 different stories already.
I don't know about you,
but I'm holding cup. I know where we are.
I have ADD.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. I had once a student with ADD. He says, how many kids with ADD does it take to change a light bulb? I said, how many? He says, you want to ride my bike?
Very good.
And we both went.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. When I used to teach at Osameach, there was a guy whose job it was when I went on a tangent.
To remember where you are.
He would write down where we are because I would just go tangent to tangent and tangent. And after I'd say, how did we get here? And I would go, I don't know. And
so
Moshe Rabbeinu.
I have this amazing gift that you have. And but I was given another gift to remember, to be able to go back, but I'm getting older. And I'm realizing I'm starting.
I can go back a couple of steps.
I'm starting to forget. I'm like, I pause, I'm like, the funny thing is, I'm sure, I don't know if you had this, but when I first started, a little insecure, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just teaching, whatever. And there's a little bit I hope people like my speech, and it would be a little nervous, what if it didn't go well? Now it's just so if I would lose myself back in there, I would just go on to another part, Now I just stop, I'm like, where are we? What was I talking about?
I used to sometimes.
Someone in the room was like,
in the middle of a story.
You're up to this. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
I'd be in the middle of a story, And I told people, I said, you could watch. If I get that flash in my eye of panic, it means I'm saying to myself, I said, the story's going to end, and I don't remember why I brought it in. And I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like, and so then I move on to some other and then it pops back. Oh, no, I remember.
Exactly. It happened to be yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing now is, now that I've been doing this long enough.
Things down,
did you ever hear Rabbi Wine speak?
Yeah, years ago.
It's very slow and kind of like folksy. I remember when I was going, and it's just kind of folksy kind of thing, and that's what I switched to now. Like, I don't even prepare. I just get up there and do stream of consciousness. I just start. I say, if having a podcast has taught me one thing, I can speak for 200 hours with no preparation. Yeah.
Well, that's the line you said.
I just get up and I just start talking.
Let's say, I heard about Rav Matisyahu Solomon. When Rav Matisyahu became in the public sphere, I mean, the yeshiva world knew him. Maybe,
relative obscurity.
Yeah, and suddenly the whole world, and he started giving shiurim. He was giving something like 35 shiurim a week.
Wow.
And this woman, I love her, the fact we're still in 6 stories and it's just unended. Anyway, the point is that I'm trying to be empathetic.
Most of my audience,
I'm trying to feel the audience.
That's why they watch this.
Anyway, so Rav Matisyahu, a woman came over to her after and said, Rabbi, like, you're giving so many shiurim. Like, when do you have time to prepare? So he goes, what do you think I was doing the last 35 years in Kollel? Like, what do you think I was doing for 35 years? The reason why you can get up and speak is because this isn't just like you just started.
Right.
You've been doing this for years, and you learned, and you know what's going on. Yeah, you went to shiurim, and you gave shiurim, and you prepared, and so there's a lot going on over here.
Do you ever see Pesach Krohn, how he prepares a talk?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He's got all of his stories on index cards.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And all of his Vortlach under the index cards. And he assembles them together, and then his notes are just the numbers of the cards, and he puts them in order.
I think he liked the fact that, like, there's different styles. So when I get up, I don't have notes at all.
Right.
And I don't think he liked that. He's just like, it's a guy, but you have to have it written, whatever it is. It's like, that's not the way my brain works. That's not like how it works.
My kid said to him, he goes, I heard you have this whole system. And he shows him the whole system with the numbers and the that. He goes, wow, it's amazing. He goes, well, doesn't your father do something like that? He goes, no, he just talks. He goes, well, doesn't he forget things? He goes, all the time. Sometimes the punchline of the whole speech he forgot to do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so whatever.
Yeah, so anyway, so here you are in Aish HaTorah.
But I will tell you, just to jump on another train, when people, I'm sure you've had this over the years, when people, we spoke about this briefly, when someone, people come to me all the time. That's not true. But there are many times people have come to me. My grandmother always said, it's like, really? That's awkward. That's all she said? Exactly. I once thought someone would ask me.
Yeah.
People ask, like, I want to be a speaker like you. I want to speak. How do I be a speaker? How do I be a speaker? I tell them, every one of them, one thing. I said, you will not succeed. Give up now. But then after that, I say, I don't say it, but I think it sometimes. But I say, if you want to do what I'm doing, just go to yeshiva and learn. Just learn. You have to learn Torah. Everything comes from the Torah. So whatever jokes you're going to have, whatever stories you're going to have, that's from your life. That's going to happen. But if you want to give over stuff, you have to have what to give over. So just learn Torah. That's it.
Can anyone be a speaker?
Anyone can speak.
Can anyone be a speaker?
Anyone can speak. Can anyone be a speaker? Anyone can hone skills in order to be better than they are. I do think that there are certain things that the Ribono Shalom gives particular talents or direction, let's call it, for particular people. I think Chazal say that if you have, the Levim are 2 different jobs in the Beis HaMikdash, at least 2, many different jobs. Some of them are meant to be shoarim, which are those that stand guard by the gates. And there are some that are supposed to be sharim, those that sing. And Chazal say that a shar shashar or shar shashar is chayiv misa. If one that's meant to sing is standing guard, or one that's standing guard is meant to sing, it sings, chayiv misa. Well, why? The answer is because that's not what you're meant to be doing. Everyone's meant to be doing something. If you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, so what do I need you here for? So some people are jumping into the glamour of whatever it is. I don't know what glamour they see, but there's this glamour apparently.
Oh, you know what the glamour is.
The glamour is a high of people that are looking at you and listening of some sorts.
The glamour comes from someone who has not bombed. That's where the glamour comes from.
Well, I'll tell you.
You get up and you're like, hey, and everyone's like, yeah, know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you get up and you're like,
Yeah. I remember. I had a
Thank
few.
you, sir.
Tell me a
you.
bomb. Tell me about. I have a few bombs, but tell me a bomb you had where it's like, get me. Maybe I didn't have this, but
No, I always say it's the worst profession in the world. It's the worst profession in the world because if you're a plumber, they bring you in to fix the toilet. So either the toilet works or it doesn't work. And if you say, I didn't do a good job, bring in another flush, it works. You know what I mean? But if you're a speaker, you can't say, I gave a great speech. It's your fault that you didn't like it. You understand? You're completely totally on the people.
The point is, when they come and they ask me, can I be you? The answer is, they say, what did you do in order to do this? This happened recently. This guy comes over to me. He saw me in my car. He says, are you Rav Gav? You know, I said, no speak English, you know, no speak a said, you know. He's like, should have spoken to me in Arabic. Like, what do you mean, no speak English, you know? So I said, yeah, what's up? You know, he said, I'm trying to do what you're doing. Like, I want to do what you're doing. So, like, what kind of social media? Like, how do you like put out in the like, social media? I said, I don't have social media. He's like, what? I could see his brain going like, error. He's like, what do you mean? So how do you whatever? I was like, I don't whatever. What do you want to know? You know? Well, how do you get out there? I said, I just teach, and sometimes people record it and they put it out. Torah anytime, L'moshel, and everything to Torah anytime. I don't have a camera that's. I'm not doing. They come, they call. This guy sent me a message. You teach tomorrow? Can I come? Torah anytime is like, I don't know if they do this to you.
Torah anytime said, he told me, they have 500 people on a waiting list
to get
on to Torah anytime because they just don't have the facilities to handle that.
But they also have a lot of people, sleeper cells, that are waiting to record. Did Torah anytime ever come after you, like to record you?
All the time.
Right? And like, do you ever show up at a place and they're there and like you didn't tell them?
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, you go to your kitchen. You're like, who are you? And they're like, recording. You know? It's like they're everywhere, you know? So it's like they record, they put it on. Someone else they put it on the tube, whatever you call that thing. Others put it up here, there, and everywhere, right? And they put it all over. And like really, really, okay, so I made a website, ravgav.com. RAVGAV.
RavGav.com.
RavGav.com. Sign up today. Big things coming. Huge things coming.
What do you have on your site?
I'm not sure, but huge things are coming. You got to lay the foundations. I got to make the site. Note to self, make site today. Anyway, RavGav.com. A couple of videos, a couple of things, and whatever. You know, it's like, listen, you know the world of this, of the ADHD deliciousness. The other day I went out to buy milk, and I moved to another country and learned how to ski. You know, and they're like, where was I going? You know, it's like, I started a website, the thing, like I did, and then I have to get back on.
The worst part is when you have ADD and then you get older and the memory loss kicks in.
Delicious.
So it's like, I walk in the kitchen and I say, why am I here? I open the refrigerator and I said, I wanted to get something. This is my whole day.
You're saying you have an existential crisis.
So I'm saying I never know where I'm going beforehand. Now I forget why I was even had a hobby meeting to go here in the first place.
So the answer is that everyone can get better at speaking, and there are certain people that have a real talent. I don't know the word. I don't know if the word is talent. I'm not sure what word to use, but they seem like they can.
I think it's with everything, though. In other words. There are certain people who are gifted musicians. Yeah. Mozart was composing music at the age of 5, you know?
Right.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. He wrote that. It was something in German, whatever it is. Right. But he wrote that.
Back to the Hank days.
Yeah. So now you teach him, he's going to become better at it, you know? Right. But anybody can learn how to play the piano, you know? And there's the other aspect here. I'm going to tell you a story. Unbelievable. You know Shmuel Kunda?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, not personally. But,
he's
right.
When I was writing articles in the Hamodia about chinuch, so I was talking about children's tapes and things like this, and I gave a big plug to his things, his Zadia Young tapes. I thought were brilliant. Well, everybody in my family from all ages enjoyed it. He calls me up. He says, you're the first person to ever acknowledge what I do. Would you imagine that? Like somebody like Shmuel Kunda was so famous. Well, he says, I sent the article to my mother that she should have nachas.
I'll tell you, but I met Yona Weinreb. You know Yona Weinreb is?
Sure.
Yeah. Have you ever seen these artsy benches? It's like beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
art
yeah,
in it.
sure.
It says it's all Yona Weinreb.
Oh, I never noticed.
So I didn't know it's a real person. Like in my head, it's like art school. You know, Feldman,
Right.
Yona Weinreb. Like and one day this guy comes into Aish and I said, Shalom Aleichem. He says Yona Weinreb. I'm like, the piece of art? You know? And he's like, well, I mean, an artist. I was like, I didn't think of you as a real person. Like I thought of you as an entity, you know? Uncle Maishi. Like they say Shmuel Kunda. These
Right.
are the names are so big that you expect like, well, I'm gonna say you're good. Everybody knows that you're good.
So let me tell you what
so
he
no one
says to
says
me.
anything to him.
What he says to me is his early tapes, like Baruch learns his brachas and stuff, he just took Jewish songs and put that already existed. He says, then I realized I needed my own songs. I didn't know anything about music.
Right.
So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me the ability to compose songs. So all those songs on the Zadie tapes, he wrote them. He says, I need to do it. So that's what I feel like. I feel like there are certain people who are natural speakers. And there are other people who, if they want it badly enough, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the courage.
So that's why I think that there's a difference between Ruchnius and Gashmius, right? In the world of Ruchnius, there's no Ein Sof. Hashem will open up and open up Gashmius in order to do Ruchnius. There are certain limitations that exist in the existence of world, right? So I don't know what the mashal is today, but Michael Jordan will always be like the guy in my head. So like, even though I'm a Celtics fan, even though I don't really care, and I never did, but my brother was my fellow, so I had to be. So,
We've become that Rebbe that we had in high school who would say, what do you think? I didn't watch Lou Gehrig. You know, I'm like,
I'm like Bill Russell,
no,
which is like
no, you know.
No, I'm Amish. I only realized recently how old I am, but I'm not going to go down that road right now. That'll be the next pod thingamajig. But the point is that I don't remember the point anymore. Let me go back to another story.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something.
Go for it.
I'm sorry to leave you guys hanging. I go to Aish HaTorah. And when you talk about Or Sameach being like what they do and Aish what they do, right? Since I went to Aish, but I went there as a Kollel guy, I didn't know I was supposed to do Kira. I didn't know. So I get in there, and they hired me only for the summer. I got a job just for the summer. Like, I need a job. They give it for the summer.
Right.
It was Siyata D'Shmaya. Every teacher they had was away for the summer. Something happened. This guy's father sick. Another one at a birthday party.
And they had a series of unfortunate accidents.
Yeah, exactly. Some got thrown.
that cleared a path for my career track.
Some were pushed over to Or Sameach. Whatever Rebbeim weren't there anymore. Anyway, so
I would hate to see something happen to you and your family.
So something happened to many of them. It could be that people from Chicago were involved. Anyway, so I got hired there by Rabbi Schwartz, and he was in charge of like all the flow. It was a summer. There was like people coming in, and it was the end of the era of like random people, like just it was before the iPhone, it was before the whatever. So people still like traveled and did stuff and whatever it is. I go in there and everybody was away, so they just needed someone to do something.
Right.
And I was teaching from 2 to 5. So I went over, what do I teach? He's like, whatever you want. What do you want to teach? I'm like, okay, So I had slots 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. I know I'm doing Pirkei Rabbeinu Yonah. That was 2 to 3. 3 to 4, Gemara, Rashi, Tosos. We were doing Maseches Kedushin, Daf Chav Tes, Gemara, Rashi, Tosos. Mr. Aval Ben Ben Alav. 4 to 5, we were doing Mishnah Brura, Halacha, inside. All these guys are totally secular.
Right.
And they're ranging from like 18 to 35, 40, they're coming in. I didn't know any better. I didn't know I'm supposed to tell them there's a God. I didn't know I'm supposed to tell them this is true. I had no idea. And I'm sitting there and I'm teaching. And I sat on the downstairs in the lunchroom. There's a balcony off the lunchroom, the balcony that overlooks like whatever. And we had 4 tables put together. And I had guys coming. Some stayed from 2 to 5. Some walked in just for 2 o'clock. Some just for 3, jumps for 4. I'm teaching like I'm in Kollel. Like I'm teaching these guys. They're like, I'm like guys, we're on the 4th line down, like by the 2 dots. They're like, by the colon? I'm like, what's a colon? 2 dots. 2 dots. 1 dot on top of another dot, They're like, what is 2 dots? Like, only yeshiva guys know what that is, Like, I'm like, all right, turn her up on. Like, where? I'm like, right there. They're like, I'm like, just read. It's like, I don't know how to read. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you Jewish? She's like, well, my dad is. So I'm like, what's going on here? I tell you, I had no idea what's going on. Okay. That summer, I think this is how it started. Then I was like, are you going to keep me on because I need a job? They're like, no, this is just a summer thing. And then like at the end of the first month, I'm like, are you going to keep me on? Because I need to find a job. They're like, no, it's just a summer thing. And then it's like 2 weeks before the new month, I'm like, are you going to keep me on? They're like, you know what? Let me see. And then they kept me on for a couple, just for that slot, 2 to 5. But I had to find another job, morning, night, whatever. So I just continued what I was doing. I didn't know Aish classes. I didn't know 5 levels of pleasure. I didn't know happiness. I didn't know the 48 ways. And dare I get fired again? I still don't know the 48 ways. I've never listened to the 48 ways. I never watched the 48 ways. I've been teaching Aish HaTorah for 17 years. I know the osmosis, and I got the basic gist of what's going on. People used to say to me, you're such an Aish guy. And I used to get insulted because I'm like, I'm not about tshuva. You're like, well, why not? Says the Rebbe. Okay, fine, I get it, right? But I'm not about tshuva. I go whatever. And then I realized if what they meant is like, you're like Rav Noach, like you're just passionate about what you do and whatever. So like, okay, I think there's a big compliment, I'm an Aish guy, no problem. But I still got brainwashed into the yeshiva world. And so like, my thing is like, my goal was Or Sameach.
Right.
I am teaching Or Sameach.
You're an undercover agent.
No, it's the funniest concept. Now. Then when so hold on, this is the main point. I then shifted into like, okay, stuff, philosophy, and like first cause, and how do we know, and and happiness, and like all that kind of stuff. And they're great. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. But I could tell you that the guys that I had involved with in that first year, off the top of my head, I could tell you at least at least 5 guys I know immediately that are married, learning in Kollel today, full on from. And those are the guys who were thrown into my Kollel. I was teaching Kollel in the afternoon at Aish. And I would say it's a lot more than that are from Shomer Shabbos today. I don't like to say, I heard you say something once, I'll repeat it another time. I'll tell you what it is.
I don't care.
We were on a panel together.
Yeah.
We've been on
we did during COVID, we did a bunch of panels.
But we also did it in person a few times. And dare I remind you,
it was us and Rabbi Feldheim from...
That was the greatest panel ever. It was Friday night, so no one could see it. Maybe Juan was.
I didn't get my voice back for a week. I was screaming.
Oh, what a geschmacka panel! That was the greatest panel. Do you remember what I was? I was the arbitrator. I was like, what they mean to say is.
You had it real easy.
It was amazing. I was like, no. Really, they're agreeing. You're like, so there are no problems in the chinuch system, or there are problems in the chinuch system. Which one is it, Feldheim? Anyway, whoever was there knows. Anyway, we did a panel. And this was not on Friday. It was on a Sunday, a bunch of years back. Project Inspire panel. It was myself, Yaakov Solomon, and Yitzhak Feldheim.
Yeah.
Right? And it was on a Sunday.
I always tell people why I can't be on a panel. I said, watch that. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. I don't play well with others.
No, it was great. But they asked one question. They asked a question. Then we'll come full circle, bleed out of the other stuff. They asked the question of, how do you feel when someone that you're Makarev goes off the derech? Let's see if you'll answer the same thing. Do you know, what would you answer?
I was like, then undo it me.
Right.
I'm just a shliach.
So this was mamish the best answer ever.
That's the difference between being a cult and being a teacher. I'm a teacher.
Right. Yeah.
So if I say ideas and people like it, great. And what I always say is, if I'm going to take credit...
I'm going to tell you what you said.
All right.
I'm going to tell you what you said, because it's exactly the greatest line.
I like it when people quote me.
I don't know. I think it was the single guy. What was his name from Project Inspire that you got married? Anyway, so
Samson.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was Rabbi Samson. I didn't forget your name. I was messing with him. So Rabbi Samson was the moderator.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Do you care? What do you if Yovid goes off the derech? Do you care?" So Yaakov Solomon gave like a psychological analysis of the feelings of what happens when you build someone and then they leave.
He was my learning director my second year in Stei Chemin.
He has some great material. And
he actually has an education.
No, he's good. And Feldheim.
This is the difference he has between people like me and you, who are just shooting from the hip.
Well, listen, Mark Twain's one of my favorite lines from Mark Twain.
Yeah.
So I want you to know I'm not very educated because I said a name in the secular one. Anyway, I don't know. But moving
Samuel
on.
Clemens.
Rabbi Clemens, who wasn't Jewish. Anyway, so I don't really know what he said. But anyway, the point is that, the greatest line he said was, I never let my schooling get in the way of my education. There's a thought out there that people feel, obviously I'm on one side of this debate, but if you go to high school and college, so now you're educated.
Right.
Don't be fooled that because you were
pointed that out?
I mean, Samuel, don't tell me, Rav.
Wizard of Oz.
Who?
The Wizard of Oz. He says, Scarecrow, there are people with no more brains than you, but they have something you don't have, a college degree. So here's a college degree. He goes, A squared plus B squared plus C squared. I'm a genius. It was one of the most brilliant pieces of satire ever, you know?
And the craziest thing is
people
that
are sure that if you go to college, you're educated.
Yeah, but people who watch that don't laugh.
Yeah.
They're like,
They think he means it.
Oh, he's the wizard,
It worked.
you know? Anyway, point is that, so they asked each one, they asked Rabbi Solomon, Yaakov Solomon, he said what he said. Feldheim gave like a maharal or whatever, you know, he was very, very good also. And then they got to me, I was like, listen, I don't even know what they said. I'm pushing it back. I don't even know what I was just like, yeah, it's painful, whatever. They go, Rabbi Orlofsky, how do you feel? Nah, I don't care. And the whole place was like, what? So the ones that know you laugh, the ones who don't know you was like, what does he mean he doesn't care? He's like, listen. Listen. If there are 40 people in a room, okay, and 3 of them become religious, and I take credit for those 3 people, then I have to take credit for the 37 that didn't become religious. So you know what? I don't want to take credit for them. I don't want to take credit for them. And each one can do whatever they want to do, you know?
I don't want the responsibility.
No, but it's a real, forget whether you want it or not. It's true, we're facilitators. I'm here to help you if you would like to. But don't blame me. And by the way, I use this concept a lot based off, you know, the things that you say. But I have to add something to, there's many things like that. But there's one thing I say when people come to me to ask questions. I'm not coming to tell you what to do. I'm here just to give you an opportunity to see other options. And now it's up to you to decide. And if you're successful, don't blame me for your success. And don't blame me for your failures. Right. You're making decisions over here. I'm here to facilitate you. Who cares? I'm here to facilitate you. I'm here to help you and to get there. But it's up to you to be able to do your thing. Okay. To not connect it, and just to say one thing that for all the listeners out there, that they should pass this on to other people as well. I don't know if I told you your son-in-law not long ago. I saw him in Arzi, Lebanon, whatever. One of your son-in-law, and you're like, who's my son? I have kids? Like, what's going on here? Anyway, which is another line I just heard on the way here. I was talking to someone, and someone said, Rabbi Orlofsky once said, this has happened to me on the way here. I heard 3 things about you in the past week. Yeah, 2 Lashon Hara, but this one, this one goes and says the following. What did he say? Where was I? Hold on. Oh, this is my own thing. Because I feel I got compared to you a lot when I was starting. There's 2 people compare me to. They compare me to Robin Williams and to Dovid Orlofsky. These are the 2 that people compare me to. And when I said to you, I don't know if you're appreciative of this or not, and I apologize if you're not. But I don't know if you remember, I called you after your heart attack. And I said, I just want to thank you because I got a lot of business. I'm not kidding. I got so much business. They're like people calling in frantic. That night you're supposed to teach in Modi'in.
Yeah, that's right.
And he called me up. He's like, listen, Orlofsky, he's not doing well. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, he had a heart attack. I was like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. And then he's like, can you come teach? I was like, oh, I hope he gets better.
I'm lucky I pulled through after all those people in Aish who suddenly disappeared in the summer.
Exactly, yeah, who are no longer teaching there. Anyway, so kids, I got compared to you and a lot of things. So, okay, I heard you as a kid, like when I was younger. I remember specifically where I was listening to a shir of you once, which I don't remember the answer, but I remember I was bothered by it. Remember that in Parshas Ba'aloscha, it talks about Miriam, why Aaron didn't get saras? Okay. Miriam gets saras, Aaron didn't give saras. You gave a whole shir about it. I listened to it 23 years ago. I was in OJ. I was listening to it on a tape. And I don't remember the answer. But anyway, here's the point. Anyway, so you're like, I don't remember either. But anyway, the point is, the one thing that I think that people don't understand you. And when I would listen to you, okay, so there's some things I found funny, some not. A lot of humor I connect to because I'm very similar to it. So it doesn't make me laugh because I see it coming, because it's my personality. But the tochen that you give over, I hope you appreciate the tochen you give over, because when you give over tochen, I am much more moved by that than. I'm not like taken by like Rabbi Orlofsky. I'm taken by the Vartlach. I tell you, I'm curious if you ever felt this way. Did you ever feel lachats when you're going to give a talk?
Every day. In
front of a big audience. Let's say they're paying you and they're bringing you out Of course, they fly you first class.
Yeah, right.
Rabbi, stop it. I know.
I'm in a little boat going across the Pacific.
You're the Titanic, huh?
Yeah.
They're paying first class. They're paying you like a good couple $100,000. And when they go, do you ever feel lachats that you're going to get up like you have to do a good job?
Every single time. Every single time. Because like I said to you, it's just siyata d'shmaya. I was once
Well, if it's just siyata d'shmaya, then you shouldn't feel any lachats.
I was once on a...
You shouldn't feel any lachats then.
No, because otherwise I don't get paid. Or I lose my reputation.
Okay.
You understand? Like, this is my parnosa, you know? So I was on a tour once to like a bunch of schools and shuls. I gave the same exact speech in the same exact way to every single place. It hit it out of the park. It was unbelievable. I went to one school, like this, nothing.
Same thing.
The same exact speech. So I know it's not me, and I know it's not the speech,
Well,
and I know
there's
it's not the
nothing to be nervous
presentation.
about.
It is because then that place doesn't invite you back.
Yeah, but okay.
Because you just weren't
But
good.
yeah, be tough.
You weren't good.
Who cares?
So what can I do? I wasn't good by the definition of did the people enjoy it? And if the people don't enjoy it, you know. Now there are some places I go where if they know me, I'm a lot less nervous because I already have
It's open.
my
It's
reputation.
Open. Right.
There was one time I was speaking and I tell a joke, and everybody's laughing. And the guy says, I said to the person next to me, goes, I don't get it. He goes, neither do I.
Oh, it's the
but they
best,
knew it was funny.
Yeah.
They knew the chisaron was in them that they didn't get the joke. But of course the joke was funny.
But it's my job to still point out to those who are listening to pay attention to the chomer. I think it's missed. There's so much missed because people come for a show, whatever it is.
That's what I want to give them. I want to give them. That's why this podcast, I think, is unique in the sense that there are Torah podcasts where people are giving shiurim, and there's late Sunnis podcasts where people are just making fun, you know. But I try to present Torah in an entertaining way that people who aren't looking for a shiur or looking for content, but to give it in an entertaining way that they're having a good time.
Right.
I always say, if I could do one thing in the world, it's I want people to feel like being from and learning Torah is a fun time. It's good. It's enjoyable.
Right.
That's what I try to do.
So going back to what we were just talking about, which we weren't, but about 20 minutes ago, and so can anyone teach? And you said you believe Shmuel Kunda got the musical abilities or whatever it is.
Right.
That's because, here's what I want to suggest. I don't know Shmuel Kunda. I never met him. I know who he is. I never met him. But I imagine he wasn't doing it for fame and fortune. He felt like he could give over stuff in a way that could help people. So since he felt that way, he had siyata d'shmaya to do such a thing.
The Alton Navardik used to say, I never asked whether I could do something.
Right,
I asked whether something should be done, and I knew HaKadosh Baruch would give me the ability to do it.
Right. So that in this context, if someone comes over to me and they say, how do I be like you? If your goal
You'll never be successful.
If your goal is for the fame and fortune, saying that I have
the fame and fortune, right? I can't speak like Rabbi Wine.
Right.
I can't. My audience would fall asleep. You know, I can't do Pesach Kron. I would have a heart attack.
Right.
I can't keep up that level of energy. And then there was an unbelievable story. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know, Eitan Feiner. You hear Eitan Feiner?
Yes, of course.
He introduced me once.
Absolutely, of course.
In his 5-minute introduction, when I got up to speak, I said, you just heard more sources in the 5-minute introduction than you're going to hear my entire share. They just rattled them up. This is a chita in 3 places, and it's a maestro over here. You know, I was like, I couldn't possibly do that. So you have to find your voice. Rabbi Fran.
Yeah.
Right? Rabbi Fran basically presents a Mishnah Berurah in a dramatic way. Yeah. Comes the Mishnah Berurah and asks a gewaldige kasha. Yeah. Listen to this kasha.
Well, you're talking to the from audience. Here we go. And he says, this halacha, phenomenologically speaking, will never redundantly be done extraneously or ephemerally. And I was like,
what did you say? That? Then Rabbi Lev is a darshan. He goes from vort to vort to vort to vort to vort, and then he throws in a joke, and everyone goes crazy. You know what I mean? Because he didn't do any, you know? But he just says over Torah in a very enjoyable.
So on this, exactly.
So when a person's going to try to be me, or try to be you, or try to be.
So I had an experience recently.
Yeah.
Where I was going to speak somewhere, And I felt like I had to perform. Not perform, be a performer. I mean, I felt like I had to be successful.
I always feel
and
that. I'm so nervous every time I get
here I felt that. So I'll tell you about that in a second. So I felt like I had to do well. And I was talking with one of my Talmidim, and I'm like preparing. And I'm trying, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, how do I do this successfully? And I'm thinking like, so what can I do to impress and whatever? And as I'm talking, and I'm thinking like, wait a minute. If they hired me, it's because they saw something I did and they liked what I did, which means they like me. And here I am overthinking what can I be to impress them. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to do anything to impress them. I just have to be who I am. That's it. And as you already disclosed, you prepare your shiurim never. So I sat down.
To be fair, when I'm doing a new shiur on a new topic, I do. I write the whole outline, Roman numeral 1.
Right. So I sat down before this one, weeks before, but really 45 minutes before. And I was in the building, and I sat down, I took out a paper, and I just wrote down, I took out a second paper, and I just got, rearranged. But again, like we said, many years, so it was a new shiur, I hadn't given it before, but from learning and different things, and doing daf yom, there's just a lot of material that comes up all the time. So I got up there, and I was just myself, and b'li ayin hara, I think it was successful, I think it was impactful, okay. So back to, can people be good speakers? The answer is, if you really care that you want to do the right thing in life, don't ask me how I became me. Just do you and dive in and do what you got to do. It's a shame. I'm happy to help with pointers of what not to say, knowing your audience, understanding backgrounds of people, how to present, order,
how to make an outline.
There's a structure.
Yeah, I used to teach
there was a guy
who came
to the show. I'm not going to say his name, although again he wouldn't mind really. But he came to Aish a bunch of years ago. He was this guy came out of nowhere. I don't know who he was. Yeshivish guy. Like his whole life, not about tshuva. Standing in Aish, he would come to my essentials, which is the beginner program. He would stand in the back. And I'm sure over the years you had people that pop in and just stay there for a couple of years and then disappear. So this is one of these guys. Pops in. And I would notice in the back, like when I would quote certain things, he'd be like, when I said a joke, he never did that though. He liked my scum on my jokes, but my chazals, he's like, oh, that's a chazal. I'm like, what do you mean? About a zara, daf kuf yud daled and megimel. Anyway, so he used to come, and I met him. I saw this guy. He had an interesting dynamic of like he was shy, but I saw that he had something there. And I said to him, you got to start getting out. You got to start teaching. Torah he'd been learning his whole life. The guy finishes Shas every year, whatever. It was like one of these guys, not every year, but every couple of years he finishes Shas, and he learns, and he's teaching. He's been in Kola forever. So I said to the guy, you got to get out there. And Bekitzer, he really did. I watched him teach the first time. First time he taught was a painful experience. Kitzer, he Baruch Hashem, he's great, and he had it. He has it, and it wasn't like I have to be.
Is he in the field today?
Yeah. He's teaching a bunch of, he's doing really well. He's not out in the speaker's market. He's teaching a lot of different yeshiva seminaries and things like that. I think that's like generally how it goes anyway. Like you teach like a seminary, you speak about Shem Nagia once or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're a speaker. Didn't that happen once? So
well, I actually started to learn how to speak when I was in NCSY. As an NCSY visual director. So I would have to give drushes and shuls, and I'd have to give speeches and things like that. So I had that experience, going into it. And then when I started teaching, so I was already there.
You were able to draw on your skill set. Yeah.
So I had some experience with it.
And that's why you should go to Aish HaTorah. That's bring everything full circle.
Listen, nobody has any use for me. You're young and happening. You know what I mean? Where is Rav Gav going now? Where's he heading?
I have no idea.
Where's it taking now? You can stay in Aish and teach there. You're on the. How often do you go out speaking?
As often as someone calls me to come speak.
You don't have an agent.
I don't have officially. No, the answer is me. You call me up. RavGav.com.
Right.
Brought to you by RavGav.com.
So I mean,
RavGav@gmail.com.
How many times? How many trips do you make a year?
It varies. During Corona, 0.
Right.
And the year before that, and after 0, 0, 0. But once every 6 weeks, once every whatever it is. It comes out in clusters. It's not. I was
better that way because then you don't have to keep flying back and forth for one.
Yeah, but the challenge is that when there's a cluster, it's a so it's like boom, 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 boom.
When I was at my height, I was going every month. I would have like a Shabbos. I'd have a bunch of days in the middle, and I'd have a Shabbos at the end. I'd go for like
10 days.
10 days, and I was lucky my career collapsed before COVID, so I didn't have to blame it on COVID.
Oh, Hashem. You can
It
just
fell
blame
apart
your
anyway.
Shalom, huh? Just blame Hashem for it.
Although I have to say, I don't know how many people actually listen here. I know about 10,000, but there's obviously more than that, because I meet people who, download it and give it out to a few hundred people and this and all kinds of different things. So, but I can trace about 10,000 people. How often do you speak to an audience of 10,000 people? I mean, the largest audience I ever spoke to was in B'nai Umah with the Shmiras Haloshin Kenes, 3,000 women, but every week took to 10,000 people. That's it.
Usually, when I go, it's usually between 10 and 15,000 people.
Wow. I'm telling you,
that walk by the streets.
I'm so old and washed up. It's just
not a chance. No,
unbelievable,
the biggest event that I personally spoke at was a Bonei Olam event a bunch of years ago, and you say 3,000 women. It's always the women you're going to get out there. There was big. It was like 4,000.
I didn't have this appeal when I was dating, but now that I'm a grandfather,
I just want to tell you,
come out to hear me.
a friend of mine, Risol Majeski, you know Majeski?
Sure.
So of course, Anyway, so his father was Olav Shalom. He came to. I once gave a shiur in Brooklyn a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and his father came to the shiur. There were so many girls that came. They had to make a men's section. You understand? Like now the men are like on the side. He came to the shiur and he said, "Move over, Rabbi Wallerstein. Move over, Rabbi Orlofsky."
He did mention me.
Yes, he did.
He did.
There's a new rabbi for the women on the track. He said it was only the women that shut him over there. Anyway, that was, it's hard to get men to.
There's a guy, Rabbi Bald, who does shiurim during the summer when everybody's in the bungalows, he does it in Borough Park, he does it in Williamsburg, and he does it in Flatbush. So in Borough Park and Williamsburg, it's in Yiddish, and in Flatbush, it's in English. So at the time, I was writing for the Hamodia in English. So he saw my name. He had no idea who I was,
Nice.
So he says, "Could you come and speak?" So I happened to be, that summer I was in the States. I'm not usually in the States in the summer. So it's in the Boston Shul in Flatbush, Anyway, so he books me. This enormous turnout, not only of men, but hundreds of women, and I had to move it outside when I speak,
He doesn't know what's going on.
He comes up to me and says, "Who are you?"
Like I'm trying to figure that out
The guy who
myself.
basically gives shiurim in Yiddish, you know what I mean? Got a few English people over there,
Well, you know that the number one listened to shiur
It's Yiddish,
in Torah anytime.
It's
Malach, I think. Yeah.
I was at
Yiddish guys
Tuni.
are the-
Well, I was the only one who spoke English.
I was
Everyone
never
spoke
in
Yiddish.
Tuni. I just want to make clear. I've never been there yet.
And they had him at the closing.
sure.
I don't speak Yiddish, but I was laughing. I mean, I knew it was funny. I didn't understand the
You're
jokes.
the guy in the audience. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Rabbi Orlofsky. It's got to be funny.
I never heard this guy before. I could just tell he was funny. I wish I spoke Yiddish just to be able to get it. So we were in England once, and the guy picks me up. He's talking to me in Yiddish the whole time, and I'm answering him back. Like that. So when we get out of the car, my son says to me, he goes, "I didn't know you speak Yiddish." I said, "I don't." He says, "Well, what's he saying?" I said, "I have no idea."
Oh, it's amazing.
So yeah, it's a
That's
problem.
amazing.
And it used to be, I came from that generation where you say they start doing Yiddish. I don't speak Yiddish.
Yeah.
You don't speak Jewish?
Yeah.
You're Jewish and you
That's
don't
what my
speak
wife's
Jewish?
grandmother said to me when she met me the first time. She starts rattling
You're
off.
Jewish? You don't speak Jewish?
I don't speak Jewish.
Anyway,
Oh,
Rav Gav, we have only
we're getting
scratched
some
the
calls.
surface.
Yes, from Chicago. Yeah.
We've only scratched the surface. We'll have to have you back. We're not going to do questions and answers now because we've gone over time. And I know that most of my audience is like us. They have ADD and they can't.
Who pays?
Listen
Like,
to them.
who would I get the check? Like for?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak to the producer
Yeah, speak
afterwards.
to him.
You fellas in charge of this, And, well, let's put it this way, call this shameless promotion. RavGav.com
Oh, now we're talking.
is
Now we're
available
talking.
for you. And that's it for this episode. If you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com.
More letters.
Which is too many letters, frankly. Yeah. Should go back to
Rav Dovid. Just get Rav Dovid out
when
there.
I was a magician, I was known as the Amazing Orlo. So when I was in NCSY, they used to call me Orlo, so I was a little shorter. Yeah, Rabbi Soloveitchik, when he used to go to YU from Boston. So he couldn't write down Soloveitchik. They wouldn't know it. Rabbi Solo.
That's great.
Rabbi Solo, you're flying. That's how they know him on the
Yeah.
plane. Anyway, so RabbiOrlofsky.com, and you could sponsor an episode. You can send an email. You can make a comment. You can download the theme song. I have a theme song. Lenny Solomon wrote me a theme song. Anyway, you can download the theme song. Yeah. You can sign up for one of our online shiurim, the Daf Yomi, the Tefillah, the Mesilas Yesharim. And that's it for this week. I am David Orlofsky.
I'm Rav Gav.
Excellent.
We didn't practice this.
We're going to try this again. We're going to see if this can flow, okay? That's it for this episode. I am David Orlofsky.
Rav Gav.
And this has been the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode. And we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah, anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.